Hi, my name is Tracy, and I'm just going to do a voiceover on this video of our horse Reba, who we need to sell. So I bought Reba about 2 years ago on a whim on an online sale, sight unseen. A friend of mine had pointed her out on a farm sale or on a machinery sale, and it was just her and another horse. And it turns out that I was the owner of record on the registration papers. She's breeding stock paint. And I was also the owner of record as the breeder. And of course, I had no recollection of ever breeding this mare. I owned her grandfather as a stud and raised several babies out of him. And one of those babies I had leased out for 4-H use, and I had leased her out apparently for breeding and don't remember it. But anyway, she was bred to a stud owned by the parents of a friend of mine, Daryl and Lisa Olson. And I don't know much about that stud, but he was a good kind of all-around horse. Had a fair amount of muscling, a fair amount of bone, and they did mainly trail riding and ranch rodeo. So this mare's granddad, I showed him all around for the first 10 years of his life. I showed him as a yearling. I showed him as a 2-year-old in Pinto and APHA, and I literally did everything English and Western. He excelled as a rope horse, and I didn't do much roping, and I started having a family, so we gelded him and sold him to a neighbor, and he went on to do wonderful things as a rope horse and competed on a national level in Little Britches Rodeo, pretty much as an all-around. Great horse, still a great horse. And I never saved a baby from him, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to buy this mare, is because I wanted some of his genetics. So we bought her. She apparently was broke as a 2-year-old and really hadn't been ridden much in her entire life except occasionally on trails. So I got her home and she was well-mannered, loaded into the trailer, was easy to be around, good ground manners, but I was pretty confident she had not had a saddle on or had any kind of groundwork done with her in many years, or if ever. So I spent a couple weeks doing the groundwork. I followed the Clinton Anderson method, and she actually took to it really well. And learned all the groundwork pretty fast. When we went to put the saddle on, she took to it fine, but she definitely liked to buck on the lunge line, and she still does. She'll buck like a bronc on the lunge line, and it's almost a little scary. I probably did a little too much arena work. I think she was getting a little soured and a little resentful. I did a fair amount of ponying down the road with the 4-wheeler, and she definitely enjoyed that better. I started riding her, and things went well at the walk and the trot. But she crow-hopped or kicked out every single time I rode her. That year was an early fall or early winter, so I couldn't do much with the winter. I readdressed her issues in the spring, and it was the same thing. She was fine for everything except when I went to ask her to canter, she would crow-hop and buck every time. She never got me off. These aren't like bucks. They're crow-hops or kicking out, but I just didn't have the confidence to deal with it. Also, as you can see, I don't have an arena with a fence, so I couldn't just grab the saddle horn, give her a little tap on the whip to keep her going forward. So I sent her to Clayton Callens, north of Canby, and ironically, the day before she went was the first day she didn't crow hop or buck out at the canter for me. So and she didn't do it once for him. She was there for 45 days. I spent like $1,000 on training, and he got along with her really well. He said that she's the kind of horse that got bored in the arena, and I know that. He spent a lot of time out trail riding with her, riding her down the road independently by herself, and then about half the time in the arena. At that point, he was just starting to do a little bit of collection with the bit. She was backing up good, just starting some side pass and pivoting, and honestly, I haven't visited those things. Got her home, and of course she had a heel bulb laceration and pretty much had to be out for 6 weeks while we doctored that. I rode her a little bit in the fall. By this time, the beans were out, and we could ride out in the wide open, and she did so much better out there. I could actually lope her out in the wide open, and she definitely felt freer. Winter came, and then it was spring again, and honestly, we just haven't given her the time, haven't given her the effort. She pulled the same crap this spring. She would do pretty good until I asked her to can her. And then she'd crow hop, and I'm just getting too old for this. My daughter started riding her, and lo and behold, my daughter got along with her really well. And though she would do a little bit of that kick and crow hop. It didn't seem to faze Brooke, and so Brooke would just ride it out, and then the mare didn't test her anymore. Once we started riding her consistently, she wouldn't do it. In fact, I rode her earlier this week and asked her to lope, and she loped off fine with me, and I'm sure that's the work that Brooke put in. So a little bit about Brooke. Brooke is 12 years old. She's by no means a horse trainer. She's got a natural seat, but she pretty much just gets on and rides. I don't think I'd consider her an experienced rider, but she's not a beginner either. So this horse is not a kid's horse, even though a kid is doing the riding and training on her. She definitely needs an experienced rider or a rider that doesn't have any issues with fear. Where I'd really like to see this mare go is as a brood mare or a trail riding horse. We rodeo, or Brooke rodeos, Little Britches, and she's got a nice barrel horse, and I actually thought that this horse would work for goat tying or breakaway for her, and I don't think the horse is going to make an arena horse. She hates loping circles, and that's what we do. We lope a lot of circles to prepare for the arena work. Now, we have every kind of critter on our farm. We have cattle, calves, lambs, chickens, turkeys, dogs, cats. Nothing phases this mare. We haven't necessarily chased cattle on her, but I suspect that's something that she would enjoy. She is pretty athletic when she wants to be. She is absolutely a boss mare. I would almost say terrorist. She will beat the crap out of any other horse until everything is established that she is the boss. It's actually one thing I like about her, because my other horses are kind of horses that like to crowd the gate and they want to come out of the pen and all that stuff. And so she literally holds the gate when I come in and out. And so it's nice. She's really easy to be around that way. She doesn't really test people, except me when I'm on her back. But on the ground, like, her ground manners are absolutely excellent. She ties. She loads. She stands great when you come in with feed. She has never bared her teeth, laid her ears back, kicked at a person. I don't need to put a halter and lead rope on when I'm going to throw a blanket on and off her, fly boots, whatever. She probably has the best ground manners of all of our horses. As you can see from the video, this is nothing fancy. I'm sorry if you're getting nauseous watching my terrible shaky hands with the camera. This is the first ride, actually this is the first ride this mare had in probably a month. We decided it was time to just do a video and get her sold, get her to a home that could use her and wants her. And we hadn't really done any prior work. What you see is what you get here. Towards the end, I videoed the next day of her going through some obstacles in the arena. But as you can see, she's laid back, easygoing mare. She's something that needs a little bit of a push. If you can see Brooke's riding with the dressage whip, she needs a little tap or a little motivation. She's definitely not a runaway. Now, I've been on her out in the fields where she comes up to speed, and it's definitely a nicer, smoother ride, but I'm accustomed to riding a more forward horse. So she's 10 years old. She's got a lot of bone, a lot of muscling. I have not put the stick on her. I would guess her at 15.2, probably 1,300 pounds. She is fat right now. She is an easy keeper. You can't hardly see her withers. I would maybe call her mutton withered. It's hard to say if it's just she has no withers or she's just grossly obese. We feed free choice hay, and then they're in pretty lush green grass all summer. And she hasn't been worked. This mare literally hasn't had to work a day in her life. So it would be nice to see what she looks like leaned up. She's got solid, nice feet. She is barefoot. She seems to handle the gravel roads just fine. She rides nice down the gravel roads, either by herself or with other horses. We haven't technically had her out on the trail, just trail riding around home. I think she'd be great out on the trails at some place like Lacaparo or Skullbecken. We do have natural water in our creek, and she crosses that water just fine, and it's deep, muddy water. It's not like a little spring. So if you have any other questions, I think this video is about to be done. I have another minute or two. Just trying to think if there's anything else. What, Brooke? Oh yeah, I would love to see her go as a broodmare. I'd like to see her go as a riding horse, too, for someone that wants a project and has a little bit of experience. She's definitely a fast learner. She just needs someone to put consistent time on, and we're not those people, and she just doesn't fit our program. Our next horse needs to be something that has got some speed, that can go as a barrel horse, goat horse, rope horse. Any questions? You can sure give me a call or a text, 507-829-0929. 0786. I guess this last little bit, which isn't really Brooke riding, I included just so you could see kind of the temperament of the mare. Brooke's saddle was slipping, and so she stopped in the arena, wanted to pull that saddle off and put it back on, and the mare just stands there. She really is just a super easy horse to be around. The worst of it was when she was on the lunge line and she was bucking like crazy. She does that literally every time I lunge her with the saddle on, to the point where we don't even do it anymore. If I lunge her, she doesn't have the saddle on, she's fine. Now we just put the saddle on and ride. We don't do any groundwork before we ride. She seems fine with that. As you can see too, she's fine bareback. Brooke's friends have ridden this mare bareback just with the halter on, and she don't spook. She don't get excited about anything. She's go with the flow. She just thinks it's stupid to lope circles in an arena. So I guess the one important last thing I should add is I am a veterinarian, and I have really explored every reason why this horse would kick out at the lope and discovered it's not her, it's me. She has my number. She's just not a forward horse, and she knows I'm afraid of her. So I have x-rays of pretty much all of her joints if you want to see them. I have obviously done her teeth. She is fully vaccinated. I have had the chiropractor out and looked at her and adjusted her. And saddle fit has been an issue. I've purchased 2 saddles to try to fit her and finally found one that fits different. She definitely does much better with a pressure relief girth just because of the way her shoulders are so muscular. So I just wanted to put that in, as you can sure look at all of her x-rays also. So thanks.